Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Unique Items. Today we're going to be looking at another request, which was requested by one of my fans, and it is the Headstriker battle sword. It's a very good sword to request because right now we have a lot of buffs which are going on to the Barbarian Mercenary, involving giving him things like Battle Cry, increasing his damage and HP and things like that, which make him a very powerful ally. And the Headstriker battle sword is actually the best weapon that you can put on a Barbarian Mercenary as far as damage is concerned, bar none. There are other choices, obviously, as far as utility, but if you're looking for damage, this sword even beats Grief. And we will go over why it beats Grief together. So right off the bat, when we look at this particular sword, you will notice that it has a relatively okay damage of 40 to 184. And of course, we are level 99, so we do need to keep that in mind as we go further. We also have a dex and strength requirement of 43 and 92, which is not really that high. 43 dex is relatively low, and 92 strength most characters have by the time they hit level 39, which is the level requirement of this sword. It's a fast attack speed sword, and it unfortunately does not have any increase to attack speed, which is a little bit of a downside. It has a 150% enhanced damage, which is static. It does not change. It also has a bonus to maximum damage based on character level of 1 point per level up to 99, which is pretty amazing. We also have a 1.5 per character level deadly strike of 148% at level 99. So what this means is that at a relatively low level, you're going to hit the cap of 100%, which is pretty darn sweet. But at level 39, when you can utilize this item, obviously we're going to be looking at what is that? 39 times 1.5. So you're looking at what is that? 60%. Deadly Strike, about 60% Deadly Strike, which is not bad at all. Deadly Strike is the chance to do double damage, and it does stack with Critical Strike. Not, 2 times plus 2 times equals 4 times, but it does stack in the way that if Critical Strike fails, Deadly Strike will roll and see if it can succeed. So it does actually increase the probability that you will end up with 2 times damage. But here's the interesting thing, is that at a certain level, you don't even need Critical Strike anymore. So the 148% Deadly Strike means you're always dealing double damage, no matter what, which is freaking nuts. And this, combined with other effects, actually make this the best weapon for a Barb Merc, and we'll go over that. Now, for the Barb Merc, you would need the Ethereal version. So as you can see, the Ethereal version is rocking 60 to 226, has a little bit lower strength and dex requirements of 33 dex and 82 strength, which is not bad. And overall just is a higher damage weapon. Unfortunately, it doesn't have any kind of indestructibility or repairs durability mechanic, so the Ethereal version is not too useful for players. Now, this item can be upgraded, and this is where things get interesting. So if we take this item and we throw this into the cube with a Pull Rune, a Lum Rune, and a Perfect Emerald, we will get a much higher damage item. So we've got 40 to 184, 43 dex, 92 strength, level 39. Into a Conquest Sword with 92 to 231 damage, 112 dexterity, and 142 strength, with a level requirement of 65, which isn't even that bad. At level 65, and you put this on a Barb Merc, he's really going to be slapping. Now, this is the non-ethereal version, and we're going to upgrade the ethereal version as well, because we're really going to show off and test out this particular item. So again, we're going to need a Pull Rune, a Lum Rune, and another Perfect Emerald. And this is going to go from 60 to 226, 33 dexterity, 82 strength, level 39, to 137 to 296 damage, 102 dex, 132 strength, and level 65 requirement. So not bad. And you might be asking yourself, well, how in the hell is this better than a Grief? And you would not be the first person to ask this. And the reason why Headstriker is better than Grief in terms of damage is due to a mechanic that the Barbarian Mercenary has. So Barbarian Mercenaries, when using a one-handed weapon, gain a buff to everything that you can possibly have on a weapon, which creates a effect which literally doubles the damage. And we already have a doubling of damage on the Conquest Sword as well. So the issue here is that we have a pretty nice damage sword right off the bat. We have the plus to maximum damage, which is really bringing up the number. We have the Deadly Strike, which is also doubling the damage. And all of this comes into play when the doubling effect happens. Now, the doubling effect is kind of ridiculous. All right, so let me read this to you so that you guys can get an idea of what this effect is. So the weapon damage of one-handed swords is doubled. This includes minimum damage and maximum damage bonuses, but excludes damage like the plus effect on Grief Runeword. Two-handed weapons apply their normal two-handed weapon damage. So what this means is that the ethereal version of this Headstriker sword is actually being calculated as much higher than it normally is, including the maximum damage buff, which is being multiplied by 2. So if we take a calculator and we actually run this, we need the base damage of the ethereal version. So it's 296 minus 99. So we are looking at a base damage of 137 to 197. We have to multiply 197 times 2, which means we are looking at 394 on the Barbarian Mercenary. We also have to add in the 99 maximum damage, which is multiplied by 2 as well. So we're looking at plus 99, which means we're looking at a total max damage of 592, which is kind of nuts. So this sword is already rocking basically 274 to 592 damage when it's wielded by the Mercenary. Then the Mercenary also gets a double damage Deadly Strike, so he has a permanent 148% Deadly Strike, which means that his ridiculous 592 damage is actually getting buffed to double of what it actually says. And for this purpose, we're going to move myself out of the way because all this kind of happens behind the scenes and you don't actually see it. So we need to actually pull up the damage and kind of multiply it out, because let's look at the Sword Guard. The Sword Guard is of course much higher damage than the Headstriker, and you notice that it's 1,891. When we put the Headstriker on, the damage is actually lower. It doesn't actually calculate in the damage properly, so we have to calculate the damage ourselves. And what this means is that we're going to be rocking, for instance, 743 to 1309. And we can pretty much effectively double this, but it's actually a little bit higher than double, because the issue here is that it's not just the damage getting maxed; it's also the maximum damage getting doubled as well. So let's see here. So we're rocking 592, which is a little bit higher than the than what's rated here. But let's run the numbers as if this was the correct single non-doubled value. Okay, that'll be the easiest way to run this. So 743 times 2, which is 1,486. With double damage, mind you, so times 2 again, we're rocking 2,972 for our bottom end. That's pretty darn nice for the bottom end on the weapon. This is before we calculate in the weapon damage, by the way. So I'm gonna actually have to write down these numbers, and we'll talk about them here in a second. So 2,972 damage on the bottom end. 1,309 times 2. It's actually a little bit more than this, by the way, but I'm just using these numbers for clarity purposes. So 1,309 times 2 gives us a damage of 2,618 with a guaranteed Deadly Strike bonus of times 2, which means we're rocking 5,236. This is our base weapon damage. This is not actually the damage calculated from the bash and the stun effects. So let's take a look at bash, which is our ability here that has 110%, sorry, 215% bonus damage. So our bash damage with this particular sword is going to be relatively high. We're rocking plus 215%. So we're rocking a total of 16,493 bash damage on the top end. And then we're going to multiply out the bottom end as well, which is 2,972 plus 215%. So we're rocking 9,361.8 plus, or sorry, to 16,493 on the top end. So literally pretty much 10k to 16k, or rather, let's just do 9.3k to 16k damage on the bash. And then let's calculate in the stun. So stun has a damage of plus 152%, and it's a little bit less. So we're rocking 2,972 plus 152%. Means he's rocking a total of 7,489.44. And the top end is going to be 5,236 times, or sorry, plus 152%. So we're rocking 13,194 on the on his bash. So pretty ridiculous, and this is, of course, using some pretty crappy equipment. I've got +3 Warcry's helmet, and I've got a Atmos Whale. If I were to throw something on him like Fortitude to really beef up his damage, it would go even higher. I could, for instance, put an Endariel's Visage on him and a Fortitude to increase his attack speed, or I could put a Treachery to increase his attack speed so he hits faster. There's also another interesting mechanic about the Barbarian Mercenary, and I feel like we really need to go over this because we're going over a sword which is really kind of almost custom tailored to the Barbarian Merc. I know it wasn't intended, but it really kind of is his weapon. This weapon is actually useful on many other characters too, by the way. You could use it on a Zeal Paladin, because Zeal Paladins don't have any deadly strike. Barbarian can get pretty good use out of this. You can also use it on a Druid, believe it or not, and even the Druid can utilize that really nice deadly strike bonus. It really just kind of depends on the character you're running. So the Barbarian Merc has this interesting thing about the way that he attacks, in that Barbarian Mercs actually get 2 attacks per sequence. So instead of getting 1 attack per sequence like most characters, they actually get 2 attacks per sequence, which means that they attack faster than they would normally. So if you were a Barbarian who was using Bash, or you were a Barbarian who was using Stun, which are the abilities that the Barbarian Merc has, you're going to only attack once per sequence. Whereas the Barbarian Merc, for some reason or another, with his regular attack, he actually attacks twice per sequence, which means that he does more damage than even you would think. Which is pretty cool. And with the addition of the Barbarian Mercs, you know, getting all these nice buffs, I'd like to go and test this out. So I'm going to take this over to the public test realm, and we're going to play around with Barbarian Merc rocking a Headstriker. I really want to see what he is capable of. And PTR is currently up for just about everybody. All you have to do is just download it. And let me move myself back over here for testing purposes. All right, so now we are on the public test realm, and we're going to let our Barbarian Merc just have some fun. Just let him have some fun, murder Mjoidir and stuff. He has relatively no equipment other than the Headstriker. I mean, he's running an Atmos Whale, which is not really a good item for a mercenary other than the defense. And he's running a Wolf Howl Fury Visor. And I wanted to do this on purpose because I want you to see his damage not the damage of the other items that are adding to him, like Andariel's Visage and Fortitude and whatnot. And I want you to see how hard he smacks characters. He's kind of nuts, especially with his battle cry that he has now. The way he just kind of takes down monsters, he hits really, really freaking hard. And the Headstriker can be augmented, of course. You can put a shield rune in it. You could throw in some open wounds, maybe. You could throw in some crushing blow to really, really top it off. I mean, we're talking about an absolutely excellent weapon, which allows him to just kind of just slap. And let's test him in Players 8 too, because I am interested to see what kind of damage he can do in Players 8. Of course, if I were to run this Barbarian Mercenary with this particular item, I would probably buff him up, maybe with Enchant, or I would buff him up with several other things. I'm not exactly sure exactly what I would put on him at this particular moment, because there's just so many variable options. But as you can see, he's still doing fairly nice damage in Players 8 even, which is pretty nice. I'm kind of curious how much damage he'll do to Shank over here. Let's use the Grim Ward, and let's see, we grab Berserk. This is the new Grim Ward, which is pretty cool. And as you can see, he's hitting pretty hard. I mean, Players 8 Shank has a lot of HP, and he is doing fairly well to murk down this guy. I'm actually really quite impressed. Now, of course, with proper equipment, with an Andariel's Visage, with Fortitude, with a Treachery, whatever it is that you're trying to hit, maybe you're trying to hit his higher attack speed breakpoints, or maybe you're just trying to beef up his damage so he hits as hard as humanly possible. This kind of thing is pretty darn sweet. Now, where could you find a Headstriker? Because it is a relatively low-level item, you're actually going to find it in a lot of places. It's not as hard to come by as you would think. The bigger issue is coming by the ethereal version, which is where it gets difficult. So let's look at the Headstriker. And where's my Headstriker? Headstriker! Butt scratcher! Sorry, I had to at least once. So here we have Mephisto. So let's skip the quest flags. And so Mephisto in Nightmare difficulty, 1 in 915 chance, pretty decent chance. Bale in Nightmare, Diablo in Nightmare, all pretty good chances, and Dariel in Hell, pretty good chance. And Dariel in Nightmare, pretty good chance. That could be a really easy monster to farm. Nightmare difficulty is probably around the time you would get this item anyway, since it's level 37. And if you were specifically trying to find a Headstriker, it looks like I think Andariel in Nightmare difficulty might be your best bet, just simply because that's the lowest monster in Nightmare. Early enough that you could actually you could kill him. It looks like Bale in normal difficulty also has a pretty decent chance. And let's go to Super Uniques. So, Super Uniques, we've got the Cow King in Hell and the Cow King in Nightmare. Both have a pretty good chance. Neelathak in Nightmare, Radaman in Nightmare, Summoner in Nightmare. A lot of these are too high level for you to really get your hands on this early enough for it to be useful for you. And that's part of the issue. I was really looking at Andariel there as probably the best option, just simply because Andariel in Nightmare difficulty is very easy to get to. It's low enough level that you're actually still probably around that level to use it, and a decent choice. I mean, Pindleskin in Nightmare can drop it, but of course by the time you've got the Pindleskin in Nightmare, you're probably rocking level 50, 60. Depends on your character. I wonder, let's see, normal difficulty. Any Super Uniques in normal? No. And bosses in normal, pretty much only Bale. And then, of course, are there any regular monsters in normal difficulty? No. So, Nightmare specifically, I mean, let's arrange by area here, and let's do a quick pass over and see if there's any lower level zones that this could potentially drop in. I mean, the Creeping Feature in Stony level 2 might be a decent option there. Ancient Ka the Soulless is hard to find. I wouldn't recommend him. Travancore at Nightmare difficulty has a decent chance. Well, anyway, I hope that I have given you some insight on this item. You've probably thrown away several Headstrikers. If you ever found an ethereal one, though, that's the only really big loss. It does have Prevent Monster Heal on it. I don't know if I even mentioned that. I kind of got excited with the Deadly Strike and took off like a rocket. Prevent Monster Heal is, of course, very nice for this weapon because it does have the ability to prevent regeneration. The only downside is it doesn't work on mercenaries. So, unfortunately, that effect is lost on the Barbarian Merc. It does have plus 15 to Strength, which can help you put on equipment, and it can actually come in pretty handy on your Barb Merc, specifically for, putting on things like maybe you want to put on a Ethereal Sacred Armor on him. Maybe you have min-maxed him to the utmost, and you've got yourself like an Ethereal, Fortitude in a Sacred Armor. The plus 15 to Strength will open up other options for helmet slots, because in general, when it comes to the helmet slot, usually the helmet slot is used as for a plus strength mechanic, specifically to beef up his strength so he can utilize those pieces of equipment. But as you can see, he's at 230 strength at level 90, was he like level 99? And with the 15, he's rocking 245. So I mean, his strength level is through the roof. Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, even when they're over on the public test realm, and we're testing out Barbarian Merc changes. And as always, keep watching.